Sure.
All right. Hello. Welcome. Thank you for being here today. We are broadcasting live from Florida. And where are you, David?
Washington, D.C.
Washington, D.C. It's an interesting place to be right now.
Yeah.
Um, I heard that where the attendees are coming in. And hello, everybody. Thank you for being here. I heard through one of the media sources that there was 15,000 National Guard people
Yeah.
sleeping on the floor of the Capitol building to make sure everybody's safe today in front of whatever's happening here. Hey, Jeff.
Yeah.
Your buddy Jeff's on. Um,
Hey.
so welcome, everybody. Thank you for being here. We're doing I'll do a little bit of Zoom housekeeping here. Everybody knows how to do this at this point. We welcome and please feel free to ask anything in the chat box in the Q&A. We will get to as many questions as we can as we go along here. We're scheduled for just about an hour. Please, without putting too much pressure on you, whatever you think about, just put in the box and we'll see if we can get to it on either the chat box or the Q&A. Welcome and thank you for spending your time with us today. I'm going to, I had the pleasure of getting to know David, who has a stellar reputation, it turns out, and it's all true. The stuff that is not true, we won't talk about, but we've been able to get to know each other, and we're happily publishing some of his works in Peer Insights Report regularly on Family Office Insights. And we're also really delighted to have him talk about the Institute today in a very timely subject about privacy and social networks. And I did watch The Social Network on what was it called? The Social
Dilemma.
Social Dilemma on Netflix when it came out. It was just absolutely well done. And all the stuff that we think was going on and more was happening. So super timely stuff, especially what's going on in DC and in our government and the social media. So with that, I'm going to hand it off to David. Welcome. Thank you, David, for being here. It's all yours.
Thank you, Arthur. Let me get this all set up here. Okay, do you see the right stuff?
Yep, you're all set. Looks good.
You see my main screen here?
Yep, it's perfect.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is David Siegel. Today, I'm looking for donors to launch my new nonprofit, the Giordano Bruno Institute. For the next 17 minutes, I'll explain the problem I want to solve, the solution, who Giordano Bruno was, and then I'll give a summary in Elvish, and I'll ask nicely for a few $1 million. And just a reminder, in case you have to leave or you're seeing this on the web, if you need to, this is my website. It's full of stuff. I've got lots to learn there, and I'm easy to contact. I'm a technology entrepreneur. I've started over a dozen companies, written 5 books, and created products you see around you every day. In 2010, I wrote this book explaining that we could use data in a smarter way. It's my best written book, but it didn't sell as well as I'd hoped. In 2017, I created the Pillar Project. I launched a blockchain fundraiser that raised $21 million from over 10,000 people and created a Swiss nonprofit to build the personal data locker so we could all benefit from using our own personal data. But because it was a blockchain project, the team decided to go in a different direction called decentralized finance. And I'm now raising money a second time to build the nonprofit that will build the personal data locker. Let me start with a story. In January 2012, Facebook data scientists ran a 1-week experiment on 700,000 users. Half were shown content with happy and positive words. Half were shown words that were sadder than average. And when the week was over, these manipulated users were more likely to post either especially positive or negative words themselves. Facebook showed they could manipulate people's feelings. Have you seen the movie The Social Dilemma? Roger McNamee, a former advisor of Mark Zuckerberg, who was in the movie, wrote a book warning the world, saying, Facebook enables advertisers to identify an emotional hot button for individual voters that can be pressed for electoral advantage, irrespective of its relevance to the election. Candidates no longer have to search for voters who share their values. Instead, they can invert the model using micro-targeting to identify whatever issue motivates each voter and play to that. This is the weaponization of social media. What matters to Facebook and Twitter is how much time you spend on their platform, and we spend more time when we're angry and upset. First, they create the anger, then they sell you to advertisers, fringe groups, and political parties. This fundamentally changes tech companies from providing tools and solutions to manipulating and monetizing their customers' behavior. And this is how extremists build their base. Platforms like Facebook and Twitter gave Trump the tools to get elected in the first place, and then to create a mob that in January of 2021 invaded the Capitol building. If you think about it, I'm weaponizing PowerPoint right now, trying to get you upset so you'll pay more attention and want to support me in fixing the problem. Does it work? Of course it does. You'll believe anything I tell you from now on. So where's your personal data? You don't have it. These companies have it. Your phone company has a record of every place you visit. You're being tracked as you visit websites. Your medical history is available to companies who pay for it. And everyone knows you've gained a few pounds since Thanksgiving. Is this safe? There are hundreds of data breaches each year, many of them with millions of records lost. Many of the files include phone numbers, addresses, social security numbers, and credit card numbers. The FBI can force them to turn over our data, tell them where we've been, who we've been with, who we've called, every text message we've ever sent, our browsing history, etc. Can we really trust these companies to be on our side? Have you actually read your end user license agreements lately? Maybe not. The system we have today is extractive. The deal is we get ease of use and they sell our data to the highest bidder. We become their most valuable asset and they give us everything we want except the ability to find a competitor's product. This is called vendor lock-in. In fact, you can buy any Apple product on Amazon except the Apple HomePod, which competes with Alexa. That isn't an accident. Speaking of accidents, there are now 5 million apps in the App Store. 5 million. That makes apps practically invisible. You have to rely on Apple's algorithm to show you the one you want, rather than the one where a company gamed the search engine to show you something else. People don't have time to find an app that will be worth installing and creating a new account, let alone using. I want to build a new platform, a single app where you can own and manage your personal data. So here are the basic components, and I'll go through them quickly one by one. They're based on the concepts in my book, Pull. It starts with your personal data locker, with your name, address, birth date, phone number, etc. Everything is syndicated though. So if you change your address or your phone number, it changes everywhere at the same time. This is very different from what we have today. Today, if you change your address, it takes months of manual effort to update all your friends and vendors. That's the world we live in right now. Months and months of manual work, even though we have tons of data, we still do things manually. Does that make you angry and upset? The idea of the data locker is to separate your data from your devices. Your data should live in the cloud, and only you should have the keys. Take any handset, log in, and that handset becomes your device. In a few years, handsets are going to begin to disappear anyway. We'll just interact with our environment, using whatever device recognizes us. Information you need will come to you as you need it. Earbuds, watches, other small devices will help us as we go throughout our day. In many cases, we'll just talk to our environment. Your personal data is with you wherever you go, and you're as anonymous as you want to be. So Big Brother is not always watching you. We are all willing to trade privacy for convenience, right? As long as it's on our terms and easy to manage. We should say to vendors, hey, how about you read my end user license agreement for a change? The main point of the self-sovereign identity is that you create it, you own it, you maintain and control it. It's not a government app. Dozens of groups are working on this now. We actually have good solutions. It just needs adoption. You'll build your own social network on my platform with people you know and trust. You'll give them access only to the information you want them to have, and you can revoke it anytime. Every message you send, every photo you share will be done using a digital contract that has clear machine-readable terms. Because the platform is a nonprofit, there's alignment of incentives between the platform and its users. Would you move to a new social network if you owned your own place in it? Sir Tim Berners-Lee, inventor of the World Wide Web, calls this a pod. It's your digital castle and you hold the keys, not the evil Mark Zuckerberg who wants to monetize your weapons and weaponize your money. To understand the world of offers, think about using Kayak. You specify where you want to go and when, time of departure and landing, airlines, class, price, etc. And the flights come to you sorted in the way you want. The flights are always according to your wishes, not the algorithms. What if you could do that for everything? From finding a lawyer, to finding a babysitter, to finding a girlfriend or boyfriend, to getting a new insurance policy, a new car, a piece of art, a new phone. The idea is to do this for everything, to create a nonprofit comparison engine. So whenever you're looking for anything, you just ask and the answers come to you. No apps, no websites, no intermediaries, no advertising. This is the opposite of search, where you have to do most of the hard work to find things you're looking for. Today, we only have a few digital assistants: Siri, Alexa, Google. Did you know those assistants don't work for us? They don't. They work for those platforms to help them make them sticky and maximize long-term profits. On my platform, you keep your personal data, but you don't manage it. Only about 6 people in Berkeley actually want to manage their own personal data, and they haven't showered in months. Instead, you hire a number of digital personal assistants to do your work for you. These programs are your need for managers or knowledge workers. Some are task-oriented. They work with your data and the world of information online. At the top level, they're your doctor, lawyer, financial advisor, career coach, chauffeur, fitness instructor, even your dating coach. If you don't like one or a better one comes along, replace it. Your data always stays in your personal data locker. These bots are made by for-profit companies who compete to provide you with the best and safest assistance. Now, I'm tracking dozens of projects that want to help people leverage their personal data. They have the right business model. Their incentives are aligned with customers. Unfortunately, they're all funded with just a little money. They have to build apps and infrastructure and customer service and compliance, and they have to be found in the App Store, and you have to register with them and all that before they can start helping you. But nobody wants dozens of new apps, even if they really would help you. So the goal of my project is to give customers a single platform with no apps and no accounts, where everything comes to you when you ask for it. It has to be easy, but you will have to pay a bit because there's no advertising. That's a short overview. What I'm building is horizontal. It's a platform to build on. Other people will build their businesses, for-profit businesses on top of this. So let's see how it would work for us. I'll just give a couple of examples. Walk into a doctor's office and your watch or your earbud or something will say, hey, I see you're here. I made the appointment last week. Want me to check you in? And you just say yes. You don't fill out any forms. All you do is say yes. That's the interface. Your digital medical advocate program will then share all the data your doctor needs, not more. Last week, I got an x-ray of my foot. Why isn't a copy of that automatically sent to my personal data locker? Oh yeah, because we don't have personal data lockers. It should be easy to collect and use our own personal data. Tesla is a platform. You probably haven't read the end user license agreement from Tesla, have you? You can do anything with your driving data except move it to another platform. So if you have another car or if you rent a car, you need to keep track of all your transportation data on several different systems by hand. In my world, your personal data locker is your chauffeur. You hire the algorithm that drives whatever car you're allowed to drive. It has a full record of everywhere you've been. It knows where home is. It knows where to pick up your kids from school. Okay, obviously that's the same place these days, but that'll change. They actually go to school someday. It can go pick up your groceries or your grandmother all by itself. It's your data, it's your driving preferences, and your chauffeur bot interacts with your insurance company to let you start your car in the first place. It's independent of the device, and you can replace your digital chauffeur with another one if it takes a wrong turn or if it asks for tips. It won't be long before you can get your entire sequenced. Will that data live? Pfizer will be happy to store it for you. Oh, they'll do it for free. They might even pay you to do it. They'll make it super easy, but they won't share your data with other drug companies. Now, wouldn't you rather pay about $5 a year to store your genomic data on your server and give access to your data on your terms if it were easy to do? Would you pay $5 a year for that? Because if you answered no, you're in the wrong webinar. So there are a lot more use cases, and I'll be happy to talk about any of them. You can ask questions, but I made a movie showing a day in the life of a typical user. I made this 10 years ago, and you can see it on your own when you have time. And here's the URL right here. I'll post it into the chat later. So the platform is the new business model. The platform is the problem. Tristan Harris, who made The Social Dilemma, has his own nonprofit. It's called the Center for Humane Technology. It's awesome. He wants to coach companies to be less evil and create regulations around today's platforms and data and your social networks, your rights that you would have. I want to build a platform. I want to build a solution. I want to build an alternative where the consumer is at the center. My platform will serve billions of people, create tens of thousands of jobs, and a new economy to replace the vampire platforms we have today. So I'll just translate from the original Elvish because I expect you're not up on your Elvish grammar lately. There is a prophecy. One app to rule them all, one app to find them, one app to delete them all, and with privacy and personal data bind them. That's what it says right there. How often do you see Elvish in a presentation? In the future, there are no handsets, there are no apps. So let's build what people need, not what Apple wants you to buy. In my world, companies compete and win on the merits of their products and services and the quality of data describing their products and services, rather than on messaging, celebrities, ad campaigns, repetition, PR, clickbait, pop-ups, interruptions, gaming, search engines, and manipulation. There's actually no Elvish word for clickbait, so I continue in English. So this is inspired by Giordano Bruno. He was a heretic. A heretic challenges the prevailing assumptions. Giordano Bruno was the last person burned at the stake in 1600 by the Catholic Church for writing that the earth revolves around the sun. The sun is just floating out in space in some wider universe. It's nothing special. And that everything is made up of tiny particles we can't see. They burned him. His death paved the way for other mavericks like Galileo to be more tolerated, as more and more evidence showed they were right and the church was wrong. He was a heretic, a pain in the ass, and a truth seeker. And I'm challenging the prevailing assumptions as well. The pandemic has been tragic, but it has dramatically accelerated the digital economy. The mobile advertising market this year is expected to be over $200 billion. Just to make this clear, $200 billion worldwide for ads on these. Much of this is aimed at our kids. These are the platforms that continue to take over our lives. You might have noticed that most apps are now free. That's not an accident. How free are they really? I have to keep explaining this to my kids all day. I'm starting a revolution to create a safe haven for those of us who value privacy. 10,000 people already gave me their money to do this, but it got sidetracked by blockchain issues. 40 million people have now seen The Social Dilemma. I need a budget of 10 million a year to try again. Have I radicalized you enough? Have I gotten you angry enough to join my band of rebels going up against the Goliaths of big data and big tech and change the world? Well, I hope a few people will want to join me to get it started again. Thank you.
That was great. I hadn't seen all that in one place. Thank you, David.
Sure.
All right, so Jack has a question.
Sure.
Don't you need a super trusted brand that everyone believes will never be corrupted, such as Mother Teresa, for example, or at the level to have any chance, or at that level to have any chance of success? Most people,
Yeah,
there will be some sort of corruption.
yes, I talk to people all day about this, and I keep saying what I need to build is a brand that people trust, an umbrella, and that's exactly right. And it's hard. I've done it, and Linux is another good example. The Linux Foundation is alive and well and has 50 employees and 2 million people. Linux is the most active software project in the world, and it's all about trust.
I didn't know all of that about Linux, but
it's the most active open source project in the world. They have something like 5,000 lines of code change every day on Linux.
Yeah, and what for our the old timers of us, it was the shareware, right?
Yeah, but the brand is absolutely correct. I'm not trying to make money, but I do have to build a brand that is, and you know what? I'm not censoring anything. So it's your environment. You know how Facebook has an algorithm that decides what to show you next, right? In my world, you choose that algorithm. That's up to your preference. You decide and so that could go wrong. That could cause any number of problems. But that's the world I want to have those problems in, not the world where we have to go to court against Facebook or Twitter arbitrarily decides to shut certain accounts down.
So we have another question here. Can the personal data locker be plug and play with other social platforms? Thanks, Brian. Mike, so I know Brian well, Brainsy. He has a company, he builds private label social platforms, and he thinks he has clients that could be interested in a combined solution.
Cool. So my platform is essentially a set of APIs and data standards and a lot of public resources that I think it's actually, Brian, if you're interested in this is kind of a good thing for you to read because it's still relevant. We will be open to what we want to do is solve customer problems, right? So I want to create a platform where someone else will go solve the scheduling problem or the doctor check-in or the doctor data exchange and HIPAA compliance and all that stuff. I want other companies to solve those problems, and I'll give them the single app where it's easy to do. For social networks, I hope we all bail out of the big ones that we know today that are advertising supported. But if you wanted to connect yours, so it sort of is natively a social network. I hope that you build your own node and you connect it and it's yours. I can't unconnect it. I can't send you a message saying you're not complying with my guidelines. It's yours. Think of it as open source. But if other networks want to tie into that, well, I'm sure there will be bridges.
Yeah. David, go ahead and unshare your screen because we see your desktop.
Oh, I see.
No problem.
Sorry. Yeah. There we go. Now I can see. Good.
Yeah. Why not establish a nonprofit banking cooperative that also handles money? And there was a prior question about this being perhaps a roadway to a crypto type currency within the scope of what you're doing.
Right. Already did that. So you can get that. It's called the Pillar token. There are, I don't know, 500 million of those tokens. And, I'm on a list at the SEC of people who sold securities to Americans, but not very many. And it was a small thing. It was a Swiss nonprofit. So I'm not going to be called here. But, I really want it to be use technology in the best way to solve the problem. I never care about technology. I really don't care about blockchain or AI or quantum computing. If it's the right solution to the customer's problem, great. And if it evolves and something like a stable coin or a token becomes the right thing to do, we'll add it. But I'm not basing it on a certain technology, so I really don't care. Also, I'd love to stay away from banking because of the ridiculous licensing and requirements and compliance and all that nonsense. But it'll evolve. It's a community thing. It's like Linux. It will have a pretty strong community, and we will all sort of take it in the directions that we think it should go. Think of it as open source. It may even fork at some point, and people will take it, and that's okay. That's kind of part of the idea.
So how, we have another question. How will you keep, who will govern the new startup, and who will be on the board of directors, management team, and which also, I'm trying to just conflate a few of the questions here, and keep it from becoming the next evil empire.
Yeah, well, the one thing is there's no stock. So the problem with stock is that investors need exits. And when they need exits, then Mark Zuckerberg comes along, he can just buy it. So that's out. So the nonprofit is the big thing. And trust me, I'm an entrepreneur. I would love to have stock in something that goes big and makes me billions of dollars, but that's not what's needed here. What's needed is good governance of a nonprofit. And just as we had governance at the Pillar Project for the last 3 years, it evolves. That's what happens. It evolves. The community gets involved. It depends which way things go, and the community works things out. But the general thing about this platform is it's designed for you to create your own environment. So if you want, to I don't know, do something that I don't believe in, that's okay. Do it. It's your data locker. I'm not going to tell you what you can and cannot do with it.
Based on current events, that's a really interesting thing, right?
It's impossible. You don't want me to be the arbiter, and you don't want to be the victim of an arbiter. You want to be able to opt out, yeah. Right? And that's what I'm going. So you may not have the perfect AI to run your life, but it'll be your choice.
Yeah, it's pretty binary, right? The reason why we all gave up our privacy is because it was free and it worked, right? Google was the first one. And right. But if Google had asked us to pay for search, no one would do it.
That's right. Now, the best example I have of this is medium.com, which successfully launched a freemium, platform, and now people pay. I pay $50 a year for medium.com. And if they turned it off, I would be mad. I'd much rather pay $50 a year to read everything on medium.com. So I'm hoping to do something like that, right? It'll be free, but then at some point you'll pay a little, and then it'll be easy enough because you're getting enough value out of it.
All right. So Bobby says, excellent presentation. As our data is already out in the hands of big corporations in major ways, how can this be reversed?
Yeah, right? Scott McNeely says it's over. There is no privacy. It's out there. Anything digital can just be, multiplied a million times, except Bitcoin. That's the problem that Bitcoin solved. But so I can't change the way things are today, but I can make it so that when you see the doctor and you get a scan or an X-ray or whatever, or a prescription, that automatically comes to you. So you're not building it. Your personal data locker is building itself. So at the very least, I brought my kids to a new pediatrician, and they want me to go online and put in all their immunizations since they were babies, but it's their system. It's for their hospital system. It's not mine. And it's the next time I go to another doctor, it's going to be the same thing. That's insane. So I can prevent that. I can make it so that you can do it once, put in all your immunization information, or maybe a company will do it. You send them a scan, make it easy. Right now you have it. Now, then when you go to interact with the hospital and they say, give us your data, that's just a button push. We'll build bridges. Entrepreneurs will build bridges to that. And then you don't have to. And then if you get an immunization, it'll add, so you've got definitive source of your data, and it interacts via APIs as much as possible. So my answer, Bobby, is one step at a time. one entrepreneur seeing an opportunity to solve customer problems at a time.
So your buddy Jeff says he loves the idea of the platform. How much money do you think you need for an MVP to be built?
Yeah, it's much more than an MVP. So this is not your typical startup. This is much more like a consortium or like an umbrella nonprofit, because there's a lot of code out there, tons of it. Tim Berners-Lee is building something called Solid. He's got open source data formats for forming your own pod, but he's also got a for-profit company that is going after enterprise versions of this. I don't know why exactly. My goal is to really bring all these projects together and say, here's the app. You can use the app platform and just add your stuff to it. So I'm going to be building what they need. I'm going to be building a brand. I'm going to be building a lot of communication. For me, the minimum viable product is going to be the initial thing that maybe a couple of these projects I already know. You.com, for example, they're building a new search engine. It's not advertising based. It's for you. It's customizable. You customize it. Some of these partners that I get early will say, okay, this is what we need, and we'll launch it with 2 or 3 solutions, and we'll build it up from there. So I don't know, Jeff, and I've written a piece on my site about the roadmap, and the roadmap is nonlinear. It's not predictable. What I need to do is have enough money in the bank so I can hire world-class people from Google, from Facebook, from really, really experienced people, because I've done it with less experienced people and they're very enthusiastic, but at the end of the day, you have to ship stuff that actually works, and that's hard. So to be able to bring on a good CTO and a tech team, I've got to show them I have longevity. I have to show them I have money in the bank to last at least 5 years. So if they do leave Google, or Microsoft or Apple somewhere, they know that this is not just going to be in 6 months. Well, I tried and it's over. So I have to build a fundraising machine that gives people the sense that they're committing to their passion and building a community that will last.
So will other companies capitalize on your platform by solving some of the problems like scheduling that you mentioned?
We hope. That's the idea. Yeah. That's absolutely the idea. Yeah. I'm not trying to solve all the problems. I'm trying to give one place where a community can emerge and solve problems all the time. You know what, Arthur and everybody, I say this to entrepreneurs all the time: no amount of money will beat Facebook. No amount of money will beat Apple. No amount of money will dominate. The only thing that does that is when one person says to another, hey, have you tried this thing? It's great. That's the only thing.
Viral, yeah.
That's it. That's it. That's how Facebook got where it is. That's how it's insanely great. You should try it, right? That's what I have to build. And Elon Musk said the other day, make your products amazing. Stop doing too many MBA exercises. Mm-hmm. No, I don't, you didn't mention this, but I was a candidate to be the dean of Stanford Business School a couple of years ago. And my essay for that was, maybe we don't need deans. Maybe I could be the last dean. And after that, maybe we don't need babysitters for people who teach about management. Maybe we could just figure it out, as a community.
And here you sit, not the dean.
And they, yeah, what a shock. They actually took the dean of economics at Stanford.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no surprise.
What do you think of the EFF, Electronic Freedom Foundation, what has failed to approach?
They're good. They're not really creating software. They're an advocacy group. They try. They've accomplished some important things. We've got some really important issues in front of us with Section 230 and the legislation for digital privacy in the United States and in Europe. Some of it is much too heavy-handed. I actually spoke at the European Parliament 2 years ago and said, this is not agile. Governments have to be agile. And advocacy groups have to help create those agile frameworks for regulation and not just build more and more and more. You just have to have more and more compliance people, right? That's not the best way to win. So that's not what I want to do. And there are other groups working on that, and they're great. Beacon is fantastic. Center for Humane Technology, they're all good. I want to just build stuff and keep iterating on. I just want to keep listening to customers and building what they need.
Would a good example be, and I've always been fascinated with how massive and underappreciated WordPress is.
Ha, yeah. I
A
thought about
nonprofit,
WordPress a lot
right?
as they have two arms. They have the open source, and then they have a for-profit hosting
Yeah.
arm. It's called Automatic, and they're great. And I think that there are a lot of aspects of that, and also some of the governance models that I would take from that. But I might not, my platform might not be open source for a couple of reasons. One, if anybody can take it, then there's just going to be a lot of noise around it, and that doesn't help build the brand. And number two, I think a lot of people will want someone to help just keep it minimally safe from things like child pornography and, you know, slave. There's just a bunch of things that you just don't absolutely categorically do not want,
Yeah.
right? You know, there are always going to be freedom people who just want to sell drugs on your platform, right? Or porn or whatever.
Yeah.
And so, and it's hard because I know it's a slippery slope, but you also, it's the same with if you have to look at medium.com, they censor because you can't write on medium.com that we're going to the Capitol building and we're going bringing guns tomorrow. They will not let you publish that, right? There's just certain things that are the minimum that you have to be careful of. On the other hand, if some of it should be open source, it will be. You know, have you heard of OpenAI?
Yeah.
Arthur?
Yeah.
I don't know if other people have heard of. How many people have seen the movie, The Social Dilemma? Can you just like type a Y or a no and Y?
They could probably do that, but there's two. Look at that.
Or is there a voting thing?
Yeah, well, not really.
Anyway,
Making it
I don't
work.
want to take too much time, but yeah, I think a bunch of people probably have seen it, and that's okay. That's fine. But a model for me is OpenAI. OpenAI was started with more than $100 million. Two famous people, Elon Musk gave money, all these big celebrities gave money, and their goal is to build. It's not open. It's not open source. It's a set of APIs that you can build into any app. You got to pay a little bit for it, so it's nonprofit, but it's not free. And their thing is ethical AI that doesn't run away, that doesn't get out of control, and is also not biased. There's actually a lot of bias in many AI programs. And their goal is to just give you a layer that you can build into your app that understands English and eventually other languages. And they'll probably make enough to break even. But because they have $100 million in the bank, they can hire awesome people, right? I think they're up to about 30 people. It's pretty lean, but their people are world class. And my problem, I think, is 10 or 20 times bigger, and I don't need that much money.
So speaking of money, how do people donate? Are you crowdsourcing small donations to what?
No, I'm looking for conversations with donors. I have a fiscal sponsor. The minimum ideally is 1 million. I really need to cross the 3 million line to get this, to pull the trigger and get this started. So I'm really kind of looking for the initial sponsors to make it go. And then, you know, as we get more visibility, more media, hire people and build a team and start, you know, creating, then we'll do more lower level crowdsourcing.
Yeah. By the way, everybody in the audience, the chat box dialogue will be produced and sent over to David, so he'll be able to see your comments and saying yes or no to watching this Social Dilemma and so forth. So he'll be able to review that. So let's get a couple more questions in.
Yeah.
How is your technology GDPR compliant, giving users control over their own data?
Right. I never care about technology. I always care about solving customer problems. Whatever domain or jurisdiction it has to be compliant in, we'll work on that. And I'm not a big fan of GDPR, but in Europe, if you deal with Europeans, it has to be GDPR compliant. The same as goes for all the emerging laws in the States. So it's a couple steps later when we will start building things. And it's going to be stuff we'll have to, you know, we're going to work hard on compliance so that startups don't have to. You know, our platform will be automatically compliant. If you think about, you know, the general principles of privacy and data sovereignty, it's things like the right to be deleted and the right to say what you want. Well, that's what the whole platform is designed around anyway. You never have to delete anything because you're always deleted. If you share your data with a company like Amazon, you give Amazon your address. Well, you have the right to revoke that after the sale if you want. Right? You have the right to limit their use of it after the sale. You're always deleted. So I think we'll be compliant by definition.
So my friend Brian has another question. Any thoughts on Senator Cantwell's COPRA privacy bill? I don't know.
No, I'm not too much tracking the developments in Congress, really. I'm just, we'll have to be compliant with whatever comes out. That's clear. The idea is that the platform is compliant, and then so lots of startups don't have to have compliance officers. That's the big idea.
Fair enough. So a couple questions from Angel. Using a platform, your users pay to use your platform, keep the data safe, correct?
Yeah, we're gonna have to find the sweet spot, right? Just like Medium launched for free for a couple of years, they were in beta, So I'm not sure what's free. What I don't want is some company sponsoring it in return for, special mention or advertising. So I don't know exactly what it will take to get over the threshold. The best way to do it as an entrepreneur is find where there's the most pain and where $10 a year is nothing to people and they'll pay it immediately. So, we may be looking for more. On the other hand, you want scale and you want everyone to jump into this new network where their friends are. Well, their friends aren't there unless everybody does it at the same time. So I don't know. Join me and help me figure this out. Yeah. It's a problem we need to solve. I think in 20 years, you want this landscape of, these $1 trillion companies just get bigger and bigger. I don't think it's a world you want your kids to live in. So I need enough money to figure out and make mistakes and evolve.
So a few more questions related to that. You probably don't yet know the answer to, but I'll just for the record, put them out there. Can branded platforms create communities/apps around your platform for their members to join, but their data is not centralized, but decentralized through your protocol?
Yeah, I actually gave an hour about how you could maintain your own data and then just kind of lease it out to any platform you want. But as soon as you take it back, you're gone. And that's easy to do. So there'll be lots of interesting solutions like that. Yep. I don't have specifics for sure.
Yep. And will organizations get charged based on member data usage, transactional, or subscription? So again, you answered some of that, but it's to be determined on some level, I guess.
So for sure, I hope look, advertising is about a $500 billion a year business worldwide. Okay. My goal is to eliminate, let's say, 100 billion of it. Okay. How do I do that? By getting people to pay a little bit for what they want. How do I get companies on the platform to be part of it? I don't know. Maybe some kind of an API charge, maybe some kind of subscription. I really don't know yet. We're going to find out. But it's going to cost a heck of a lot less than $100 billion. I can tell you that.
Interesting comment here. Why not get a country, yes, the entire country, to back the projects such as Estonia, uses the e-government. Estonia has been involved.
Right. I love Estonia. You know how long it takes to file your taxes in Estonia, Arthur?
2 minutes.
15 minutes on average. The average, it's about 2 minutes for a lot of people. Yeah. Right. It's basically like this. And I would love to work with them. They don't have tons of money to give me. But as soon as I've got traction, I'm sure that, I'm going after the big US market first, and international stuff will come later. But I'm really looking forward to, worldwide adoption and not dominance, because I don't think a nonprofit can dominate. If anybody who wants to play with us is welcome to.
So it actually is pretty binary. Either somebody else owns my data or I own my data and choose how to share it. But you created a. I wasn't trying to correct you. I'm just putting a thought out there. When all these companies are using apps that require you, like the doctor, to put stuff in their thing,
Right.
aside from the having to replicate that 10 times, I love when you go to the doctor and they give you a form and it's not already pre-filled in on the 6 pages that require your name. And I'm going, wait a minute, who am I paying it?
Right.
You'll meet
Right.
me now, right?
Right.
So
Right.
aside from that, if you choose to release your pod into that office, then it now becomes part of their data. And the question is, do
Yes.
you give it away? I know this is more
Oh,
involved.
no, it's simple. It's done by contract. And if you and I take a photo when we're skiing and then we share that, we both own that photo, right? So we're going to have a contract that says what we can do with it, who can share with it. You might not want certain people to see that photo. I don't know. Or you may want to revoke it, right? And it's the same with, you go to a hospital and take a test. You don't get to keep the test by yourself. They're going to have to get a copy too. So everything is done by machine readable contract. And the guy who's working on this most right now is Doc Searles at customercommons.org. And those contracts, we will not read them, but our digital assistants will read them. And they will help us say, oh, you can't, or if you want to do this, you're going to have to ask so-and-so permission to do that and all that stuff. So that'll just sort of be a layer of permissions that'll be built in.
Yeah. Pamela has a comment, a nonprofit can dominate.
Yeah, I'm not thrilled about Wikipedia's governance model. I think Wikipedia is a commons that has been hijacked in a lot of cases. So it's good for certain things, bad for others. So I'm hoping to find a better solution to governance than that. But yeah, in the same way that WordPress, it hasn't dominated, but it is number one. That would be about the best model, the way I would say it right now. Or OpenAI is also great. It's just, more and more people will use it.
Yeah, WordPress is impressive. It really quietly built amazing position. So we have 2 more minutes. Let's talk a little bit more, David, if you don't mind. Aside from everybody's on the call and registered, we're going to send you the information. You can be in touch with them and so forth. What's the quickest way for people to hurry up and send you money?
I do have a fiscal sponsor, so we're ready for money now. They have a minimum where it's $1 million gives me the best deal on their, how much they take out of it. And I am looking for $1 million or more. And I just would like to ask everybody here, what I don't want you to send me a check or a credit card. I want a conversation with people. I want to listen to donors who are actively, building their philanthropy. A lot of donors have much more money now than they did a year ago. Much more than they were planning a year ago, right? It's been a tremendous year for people who have assets. So I would like to listen to them. And the best person I could possibly get would be someone who says, I'm going to help you build this with me, with you. I'm going to work with you to tap my friends, my network, and be on your board and help you build the governance. And, you do all the work, David, and I will help you solve the money problem because I see how important this is. That's that one person, that's why I'm, getting the word out as much as I can. I would do a TED Talk. I've been to a bunch of TED conferences. I've proposed TED Talks. I've never given one. But I've done a lot. I have a lot of stuff online. I have 2 YouTube channels, and you can see all my stuff at dsiegel.com. But what will help the most is if you happen to want to be that person, great. But if you know that person who might want to partner with me and say, yeah, let's build this. This is important. Someone who's seen the movie, someone who gets it, someone who's got kids, someone who is frustrated every time you go to the doctor's office. It's in fact, the time and effort and connections is worth more than the money, right? And you've been very gracious to me, helping me reach your audience and people like that who will be influential in helping me get started. That's what I'm looking for. I can't do another blockchain ICO. Been there, done that. And so I'm going to do it the old fashioned way, and relationships, conversations, listening. That's how you close on money.
Totally makes sense. The magic of each individual's exponential network. I
Yeah,
regularly say to
right,
folks,
right,
the people that are in the community are who they are, and their networks extend way beyond that, and their networks extend way
yeah,
beyond that. So
yeah,
had you not said it, I would have said, if you're listening to this and you reading this, or engaged in this webinar in one way or another, if it's not for you, maybe there's somebody else you can refer into David, and
right.
sort of the magic in the network. Yeah. So
Thank you.
let's see if we have. Okay, so we just got everybody saying they'll reach out. That's great. Uh,
Thank you so much.
Super presentation. Really enjoyed you filling in the blanks for me as well, David. And it's been nice to get to know you. And thanks for everybody for being here. We're going to record. This has been recorded. We're going to post it on the Family Office Insights website. So if you missed it or parts of it, or you have others that would like to see it, you can certainly go there. And of course, we'll put you in direct touch with David. And as I always say, always is hyperbolic, but it's true. Please, thank you for spending the only thing you can't make more of, and that's your time with us today. Thank you, David.
Thank you, Arthur.
Bye-bye.